think we're live. Go for it.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of our brand new game stream. I am going to mute myself so I don't go wild here. Okay, so long weekend, am I right? We are all just getting back from the long weekend. At least here in America, it was a long weekend, but we are so happy to have all of you back here. We're also happy to have our third team member also back with us, and she can now be on stream with us. Would you like to say hi, Karen, and let us know where you've been all this time?
I don't want to let you know where I've been because you're just going to shame me. I read an article today that there's like travel shaming going on, and nobody's better at travel shaming than NRA boy, Nic Raboy. But Adrienne would understand because she's also married to a European. I went to Europe. I was in Europe for 6 weeks, and I was paragliding, which was amazing in the French Alps. So it was outside. It was safe, except for all the eating and partying.
That's
But
amazing.
I went to France and Spain, and Sweden, which was great. And I was responsible. I wore a mask and hand sanitized, but still, it was.
I believe you. I wish we could all say that. So, let's actually get Karen caught up, Nick. Let's go back to our little Jamboard really quick and do a very quick recap for everybody here and for Karen so we can get everybody back to speed here. So let me get the Jamboard up here.
That appears to be my screen.
Yep, and I'm working my way, taking out everybody else's screen. All right. So, if you were with us last week, we left off right here. That's today. This is the next week's stream, and we were going to talk about what it takes to build a user profile store. So as we discussed last week, we kind of just brainstormed out all the things that we felt we needed for our tribute game of Fall Guys, which we're now calling Plummeting People, as you'll see right here. I think that's a clever name. And so you'll see we have brainstormed out different categories of what we think we'll need to build with this game. And right now we're starting with this column right here. So we want to keep track of some in-game player stats, and hopefully or probably we'll do that with MongoDB Atlas because of all the things Atlas can give us in terms of easy aggregations or looking at stats in specific ways that we would like to see. And so we are going to head back to us, and do we want to talk about how we planned to implement this, Nick or Karen?
So I mean, maybe actually instead of coming back to us, you go back to the Jamboard real quick, and it might be easier to see a visual as we go, right?
Sure. Let me get back to the Jamboard. Here's the Jamboard.
So so the idea behind what we're going to do today, and it's totally subject to change in a future stream depending on how well we've thought this out in this particular video, but the idea is that we're going to create a user profile store, which is essentially a collection of player documents or a collection of user documents, and it's going to store everything about them when it comes to this game. So for example, in the previous stream, we thought, you know what, we should definitely store the wins and losses, but also we should store how many times we fell or how many steps we've taken, and or XP, etc. And it could go on and on on what we can store. In addition, we would store things like our name, or if I don't think we plan to do that for this game, but if we wanted to store maybe some billing information around the player for kind of microtransactions. Again, I don't think we're going to do that, but we could. So it's anything for that particular player. Karen, I think you had other suggestions offline on what should be stored in a user profile store. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, before we get into that, let me go ahead and say why I'm here. Because as this series goes on, you're going to be like, wow, Nic and Adrienne are amazing gamers, and Karen sucks at gaming. And this is true. I suck at gaming. So let me explain why I suck at gaming. So I was a really avid gamer. I was a really avid gamer. I was kind of an avid gamer. I was, my race car games, whatever. And then I got a job years ago in the gaming industry for, I don't want to age myself, but what the hell, 3DFX, which was amazing. It was like my first job ever. And then I had to play like every game. And then I got kind of sick of playing games. So I worked at 3DFX, and I worked at NVIDIA, and I worked at Amazon, and I worked at Twitch. So I worked at all of these gaming companies. But I didn't actually play the games because you're always playing games. And the other interesting thing is that when I play these games, I always play it to fail. I always play it to look for the crash and see what happens in the crash. So I'll approach it from a different way. But I did watch your stream last week, and I loved how you guys, and I do know this game because I've been to a gaming party in the San Francisco area where they had them on big screens and everything. And it was a really, really, really fun game. But I don't actually play the games to win. I play it to crash the game to see what happens. So I do. So a lot of my feedback would be like the things that I might have seen in the gaming industry and the whole bit. So the question was, what are some of the things that we might want to say about user profile data? Is that right, Nic?
Yeah. So I listed off a few, but I remember you were mentioning a few other options that you could store offline to me, Adrienne.
Where I'm looking at the things. So where are the ones that we have? In-game player stats, profiles. Oh, falls, steps taken, collisions, wins. Well, you want to have so common thing to have is obviously your player name, player profile pic. You might have who plays with you, who your playing partners are, who you partner with, little things like that. So they'll probably add out the whole bit as we go. So those are the ones that pop into my head right now.
Sweet. So we are deciding on MongoDB Atlas because that's kind of where we are right now, right? We don't have all of this already scripted. We're actually going to do this right now. So based on all of these things that we brainstormed last week, and as we discuss it during this stream, we're just going to build a user profile for the things that we think we will need. One of the greatest things about this, of having this flexible schema, is that as we continue to iterate on this, let's say we miss something, 3 streams from now, or we're like halfway through the game and we needed to change something, or we saw something that, that would actually be a really cool thing to keep track of, or something was missing in our leaderboard feature that we weren't keeping track of in our user profile store. We would easily be able to add that later on. So that said, I think we're pretty confident in just going and creating an initial user profile store with what we think should be saved per player. And what we want to show you today is how to get that up and running pretty quickly. So the only thing that we have ready for the stream now is that I have created a cluster, a brand new cluster, and it's a free tier cluster too, just so you can see. If you're following along, you can do it as well. But we save the time in you watching us deploy the cluster out. And I guess we can start with, would you like to start, Nic, in the MongoDB playground, or would you like to start in Compass, Karen?
I'd actually like to start in the playground, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's great. So
Yeah.
I've created a cluster, and now let me work my non-stream deck magic to get Nic's screen up here. Sweet. And so now we are going to go use MongoDB's extension for VS Code. So this is an awesome extension, not just because we work for MongoDB, but because I mainly use VS Code in a lot of my projects, and this is a really great way to take a look at your cluster's data. We have connected, or at least Nic has connected to the cluster that we are all sharing for the Plummeting People game. And you want to go through and show what we have so far, which is quite literally, we just have the cluster built. So everything you'll see will be building from scratch in this stream.
Yeah, so I mean, up on my screen right now, just to mention, to reiterate here, so this is the MongoDB for Visual Studio Code extension. And there's quite a few ways to work with MongoDB. This is my personal favorite. Karen's going to be showing us some Compass soon. You have options. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but it is definitely pretty cool. So if you install it from the extension store on Visual Studio Code, what we can do is we can open it. That's the only way I know how to get to it, is to use the kind of, what is it, the project palette? Is that what it's called in Visual Studio Code?
Command palette, yep.
Command palette. So I went to show MongoDB, and you can see I have one cluster here. This is the one that Adrienne had spun up. And I have one database, and I can actually drop this database. We can start from fresh, but oof, that's a tough one to spell here. MongoDB VS Code Playground. So I just dropped it. We'll kind of start from the very minimum. This is what you would get when you spin up a new cluster. But inside of here, and this we're not even talking about the user profile story yet. I'm just giving you a quick experience with Visual Studio Code. But what you can do next is you can actually create a new MongoDB playground. So again, that was the command palette, and this is a boilerplate playground. So it's going to use this particular database, which doesn't currently exist in our list. It's going to use a sales collection, and it's going to do a few inserts and finds and aggregations. If I wanted to, I could run it. So I can say run all from playground, or I think Adrienne told me that you can actually run specific parts, which I didn't know about. But I'll say yes. It'll run, and then it'll spit out whatever results into the output. So it's pretty quick for getting things done outside of a driver.
Yes, this is the part that I love, is because this is perfect for what we're trying to do right now, right? We don't know necessarily, we have some idea of what we will need to query for our player stats, but this is a great way to just start playing around with it and see what kind of data we can get back, as well as what kind of data we can start saving. And we can always view our schema from this extension too. So once we start adding some data, we'll see that as Nic expands it in the tree. And also, as a quick tip, since I think this is a fresh install of the VS Code extension, right, Nic? Am I right?
It is. I just installed it right before the stream.
So I just want to give a quick tip, because this was something that was, I get it. Like if you're it's a new user, you want to make sure that you are running what you want to run. But you'll see that every time you want to run something, whether that's everything in the playground or the selected text, it's going to prompt you if you want to, and that can get annoying.
Yeah, let's try that.
But you can.
I thought you were going to tell me how to run.
Oh, there you go. So you can see it all.
There's the run
up.
selected.
And so if you select that, it's going to prompt you. Basically, anytime you want to run something, if it is a fresh install, it's going to prompt you like that. And as you're, iterating and quickly working through it, that can get annoying. So if you want, Nic, you can go into your preferences and actually change that and turn that off.
Yeah, I do want, because that's super annoying. Let's go ahead and check it out. Preferences for extensions, and then I assume
MongoDB,
yeah. This one.
And there you go. And then just make sure to save that.
I think it saves it automatically, right?
Possibly. We'll find out.
Sweet.
That's
all
just
right.
a nice quick tip to not get you so frustrated that you just exit out. So
Did you have anything else you wanted to add to this before we start getting down to business on this game?
No, I think this is great. I think it will make more sense once we start actually adding it. But this was a great quick overview of what is defaulted when you first download the extension.
I'm gonna have to time mark that, because I haven't actually started playing with this yet. So
it's
so
a dream when it comes to larger queries, like larger aggregations where it's multi-line. It's a dream.
Yeah. Well, I bet we're going to be doing lots of those, so that's great.
Yeah. All right, so let's take what we know from that Jamboard, and let's think about how we want that to appear inside of our document. So this is going to be a team effort. We've not run through this before, so there could be some arguing, some changes. So
Fighting.
who knows?
We'll have our
But
first fights.
Yes, our first fight on this project. Uh,
When in doubt,
let's
Nick
go
is
ahead. Yes, I'm always wrong. All right, so let's think about how we want our document to look. So, where should we start this? We probably want to start with the ID, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not MongoDB stuff. This is just a empty page where I just kind of want to visualize how our schema is going to look for our collection.
Well, going along that, do we want to use MongoDB's built-in _ID as the unique identifier? Or do we not?
Could. So in this scenario, what we could do, and there's 100 different ways to accomplish this problem, I think, is, well, if we want to use the Fall Guys approach, where everyone is Fall Guy 1000 or 1634, etc., why not hard code that value, make it unique? Because the ID is unique. If we're only ever going to have one game username, maybe we use that. But then in that scenario, well, what happens if you want to change your username, right? You can't really do that. So it depends on what we want to accomplish.
Excellent. No, that's exactly what I wanted to come out of that question. So because when you first start out, you're like, yeah, it's a unique identifier. Let's just leave it at it as is. But those are the kinds of considerations we want us to discuss, as well as everyone who's watching to understand as well. So those are great points.
So
if you wanted to,
go on.
No, I'm just saying, if you wanted to make sure if your ID is going to be, say, your username, and we're not, I promise, Nick, we weren't going to talk about indexes because I tend to jump in the deep end. So of course we're like 5 minutes in the stream, I'm bringing up indexes, but this is just to keep in the back of your head for later as you're building up your data models. If you want your ID to be unique, and so let's say we can only have Adrienne's, I'm really great at gaming names. So let's say Adrienne's gaming name is Adrienne and Nick's is NRA boy and mine's whatever. I can set an index on it to make it unique so that when you add a new, we have something in MongoDB called unique indexes. So when you add a new index, if that already exists, then you won't be able to create that as an index. So we'll think about it later, but it is one. If you're worried about people having the same usernames and stuff, that would be something that you could sort of implement to prevent that from happening.
Totally. This is what happens when you get developers together. We already start pre-optimizations, and so
it's the root of all evil. Pre-optimization. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. This is great. No, these are all things that I'm glad that we're discussing because we know about it. But okay. Well, I'm not going to cut you off anymore, Nick. Continue on. So we're definitely going to have an ID. Nick's
going to hate streaming with us.
Maybe.
Nick's a happily married man, but moments like this just come at him.
All right. So, let's just start adding what we initially had on our Jamboard and then extend it.
Yeah, all right. We'll optimize it after we just throw everything in, right?
Yep. So
we have XP.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be some number, right? Yep. Without letters in there. We have falls. Mm-hmm. So even more falls for that. Steps. I don't know how long an integer value is. So I'm just making random numbers up here. But you probably don't want it as a string. Do you have that is that me? Oh, did I accidentally add a string character? Well, you have a quotation mark, unless I'm... That was by mistake. But good catch.
Mm-hmm. You have collisions.
What do we have? We have collisions. And we have losses. Mm-hmm. You spell losses, right? Yep. So losses... And then since this is Adrienne's character, I'm going to put 0 for the wins.
Hilarious, but it's actually true, so.
All right. What else am I missing here?
Did we say we were going to do some kind of currency to purchase outfits, or were we going to tie that to XP directly?
It's up to you.
Oh, yeah. You guys mentioned that in the stream last week.
Yeah. So you remember the the whole shebang with Fall Guys and how you can buy certain either common costumes or legendary costumes with either their in-game currency, which is called kudos, or with crowns if you won crowns. So obviously the more rare the costume, the more expensive it is in terms of crowns. Did we want to do the same thing? Do we want to have an in-game currency? I think we should.
What do you want to call it?
Oh, here we go. I need help in the chat. What should we call our in-game currency, chat? So
For plummeting people.
Leafs?
Plummeting oh no. Don't bring up that wound, Nick. Plummeting people pennies? I don't know. I'm not creative right now. Chat was super awesome last week. They were just on fire with all of their suggestions, so I'm hoping chat can give us some help. What should we call
We're
our
just waking up.
in-game currency? Yeah, we'll wait a little bit. Let us know in the chat. What should we name our in-game currency? Let us know, and we will certainly
We'll leave it at that
attribute
for now.
Yeah, currency.
And then do you have badges? You will make badges like an array?
Ooh, like achievements?
I don't know. You guys are the gamers. Yeah, no, badge achievements, I guess.
Yeah?
Like when you get
Achievements.
to certain levels.
Yes. Or for like ridiculous achievements unlocked.
And you don't have
That should probably
like
be an
there's
array,
no
right?
inventory, right? But are there skills? Like would that be able to be?
Actually, there is inventory. If we're so as your player in Fall Guys, obviously the more you earn XP and if you purchase certain outfits, then yes, you have a certain number of patterns, you have a certain number of upper costumes, lower costumes, colors that you can use, patterns.
Mhm.
So I say that's a valid thing we should add because that is a big part of the game that makes it so fun is the fact that you can change your costume.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
Personalized.
Inventory? Because we can subcategorize that as well.
Yeah,
Oh, you can make
so,
it like a sub document.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you
As it
agree that
grows.
achievement should be an array, though? Or should that be an object?
It depends what kind of achievements we want to do, right? Are we gonna?
It's just kind of like a list of. So, like, don't you have like badges that say you're a super amazing person and that you're a super happy person?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if we want
That
to.
you're a really good listener, you're a team player. I don't know what the badges are.
I mean, let's see. If we want to categorize them, I don't know if there's any benefit in categorizing them. So, like, we could categorize them to say, just level increases.
Oh, that's a great point. Timestamp when you got it. Those are interesting.
That's a
I mean,
good
what do you
one.
think of this?
Yes, we are agreeing with you.
Oh, you are? All right, perfect.
Rise
yeah,
Rock
all right.
says we should-
Begrudgingly. Begrudgingly. Sorry, I don't know. I'm coming like this.
We have some great
Well, it means-
suggestions for our
I see 'em.
currency. So Rise Rock says leaves or leaf points or pineapples. Just
Pineapples.
completely- I like that one. Evely says plummy or plummies. I like that too because it matches our name.
I'm kind of digging pineapples just because I like the idea of plummeting pineapples.
It doesn't have to make sense.
It doesn't.
But it's really scary and funny at the same time.
Maybe those could be the things that we're going after. Like instead of jumping after
Ooh.
crowns, you are going after the coveted pineapple because the lore in our game dictates that pineapples are the best.
Plumbing is. It's the scale of happiness.
Or plum apples.
Wait, so are we going pineapples or plum apples?
No, I'm
That's
just
funny.
thinking of the
I like
song.
pineapples. It's in my
Pineapple
brain.
Pen. Sorry, that's now stuck in my head. You've seen that video, right?
No.
No, I haven't.
Oh
I
no!
think
All right,
you're
I'm
gonna
not
have
gonna
to
do it.
explain yourself now.
There's this. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna do this. Pineapple pen.
Uh-oh.
Have you not
You
heard
hijack
this?
and display?
I am. All right, hold
I
on.
might have.
Very quickly.
Maybe you're just doing a bad job.
For those who do not know this, because when I think of that, and
She's
then
everybody.
let me.
Go ahead.
So nobody has seen this? Oh, hold on.
I'm watching the stream live since I don't see your stream.
I know. So hold on. We do
There's a
not
delay.
have audio. Let me add my audio really quick. Audio output capture. Except now we're gonna hear you, but that's okay. I'll take it out immediately. Adrienne on the fly, adding.
And we're not going to violate any kind of copyright by showing this, are we?
I don't think I'm gonna show very little, just because I don't know how you have heard of this, but let's go back here. All right, let's do this.
I'm having a moment. I'm so confused.
You're welcome.
All right, that's a weird video.
I don't think I'll recover from this ever.
I'm sorry. But that was what was stuck in my head because we were trying to combine it.
This is true. Emily, that is so true. We're gonna make a great game.
Hey, do we want to try to fix my audio?
Yes, it should be fixed. I muted the source, and let me just delete it.
Oh, all right, I understand.
Let me just remove that. Yep. And cool. So we should be good now.
All right, it sounds good. I checked.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back
anyways,
on track.
Where were we?
We still don't know what we're naming. Are we naming it pineapples? See, we got sidetracked already.
We have to. It's destiny at this point.
All right.
Sure.
We'll find a way to fit plums in there somewhere, Rise Rock. So, okay. So our currency is going to be pineapples. It has been dictated.
Inventory.
Right. So, yes.
These are the characters.
Subcategorize this, right? Are we going to should we start out easier for ourselves and just say it's just a whole outfit rather than how Fall Guys has multiple items?
Then maybe an array?
Yes. Ooh, Emily, great
right.
point. Plummies equals the characters, their race. Done.
His work here is done.
That. I'm okay.
Decided.
Yeah.
For outfits, do we want to follow the same kind of strategy where we have a time step of when it was earned and the name of the outfit or the ID?
Yeah, why not?
All right, so maybe name.
I don't know.
That should be an object.
I mean, I'll let you guys do it, but there's just like, you don't take away their clothes. They just have it. It's just extra info. That's the problem actually with game development, is that you just save everything.
Why would we ever need to delete it?
Well, why would you ever need to have it?
I mean, if there was I'm not thinking of the word.
So actually, this actually is a good point. So we're talking about this. So I'll let you finish. You write whatever you want to write, and I'll just bark at you from the backseat here.
NRA.
So as you're writing, I'll tell you something that's interesting about game development. So when I think about data for users in a game, I think about what the user needs and what the people playing the game need to see about that user, what they need to see about Yo Adrienne and NRA Boy. But there's also a big side of gaming that we probably won't use for this, but analytics is an enormous side of gaming, because game developers, publishers, people play the games and they want to understand, when did they start struggling? When did they exit? What achievements did they get? When was the last time they were on? Why are they not engaged anymore? How do we get them back engaged? So when we think about this data model right now, we are planning, and I was going to shut up about this, but what the hell, we are talking about it. We're talking about what the player sees and what people in the game see. But there's also stuff about analytics that we might need, and that's where dates and things like that are important. When they log off, how do we get them back engaged again? So there's no harm in hurting in recording all this other stuff. It just makes it, if we're doing a sort of beginner game, it just makes it difficult to, I don't know, program for it or something like that. But that's just how, when I think about data, I think about it on those two branches, what a player sees and what the analytics would see.
True. Then in theory, we may not even need the name here, because that would be hard coded into the game itself, right? Not at the data level.
Is that my name? I can't see anything. The outfit, the name of the outfit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you named it after me, I think you should keep it in.
Oh.
And I think it should be shoes. It should be really arty
But they're
shoes.
full outfits.
Well, that's fine, but I better have some killer shoes on that too.
I think we should just craft it with you wearing your bandana mask, kind of your rap outfit that you had on the other day.
Mask.
Oh my god, you should call it the kilowatt Huaulme outfit.
Yeah.
I actually really like Karen's points. I think we should add those as top level player stats as well. I personally like seeing almost, sometimes it's I'm ashamed, but I like seeing how many hours I've played of the game. And so we should totally log that, because that will help us as the devs, right? That's exactly a great point. Those are.
How would you want to store that?
Hours.
You would have a created at field, like when the user was created, and then you would have a last logged in field. And this is actually a very common use case for game developers when they use MongoDB. This is a very common data thing.
I'm going to pull out an edge case on that. So if I'm just using a last logged in and a created at, that's not going to correctly give us the elapsed time, because they may play a year from now, or we don't want to calculate that they've played a year straight. We want to calculate the actual hours that they've played.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do about that?
Last time something changed, like the last step they took, or last updated, is also a very common field that people might do. And I think that might be the best way to see when the last time they did anything in game.
Should we be using a calculated field as well? So that way we don't have to calculate it on the fly?
I think so. We would count every hour that they are logged in to the game up until they logged out, right? That would bring the total number of, if we're counting just being in game as hours played, I mean, you can get super complex there and say, waiting in the lobby doesn't count as in-game playing hours, only when you're in a level. But I don't think we have to get that complex.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about this? What's on my screen if you're watching my screen?
Hours played for that session?
No, total. I could say total hours. I'll clear it. I'll clear it up.
Lifetime hours played.
Yeah. We could always change it up later.
Yeah. I mean, that's already...
Is updated at like that refers to the last time they were playing?
Sure. Could
would it be?
You want me to be more specific?
I mean, we could have a last logged out field, and that is actually another common field that people use in gaming.
But how are we going to track whether or not they've logged out? I mean, I guess maybe we have a on destroy event in the actual game itself that sends a message to the server.
You just there's a way of saying when somebody's session ends. I haven't looked into it. I never really thought about it, but
I mean, we can save that for the next stream.
We'll say, we'll throw it on the board and we'll go back to it.
We'll go into the.
This will probably evolve for sure.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is now, so we're talking about these fields, and I'm thinking, and I promised Nic and Adrienne I wouldn't talk about this, but I'm talking about it again because but I was like, oh, let's show authentication triggers. And we're not going to show authentication triggers, but as the game evolves, in Atlas, we have something called an authentication trigger. So if somebody logs into our application, we can get all that information. If they log in through their user password or Google or whatever, we have a way of taking that sort of information and writing it directly to the database. So you don't have to write that code for it. We just click a few boxes and you get it right in there.
Totally.
So
Oh,
But
go ahead.
we'll visit
Evely
that later.
actually made a good suggestion here on socket disconnect, because remember, we're going to be controlling the game with a socket server, and the server is going to know when a socket disconnects. So I
Thank
think
you,
that could
Evely.
work.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's kind of on the
and-
same lines that Parastadia also said on application which we would
Yeah.
be implementing through the socket. So we're on the same track there. And Intruder also brought up pretty much what you were talking about, Karen, which is using login and password hash for auth. So
Mhm.
again, we're not going to go through that today. That's going to be like a whole stream on its own. But yes, we're certainly probably going to use parts of that for our game.
But this is a good idea of how we're developing a data model, knowing the sort of easy features that we have to sort of add to this, the easy ways to input the data for this particular data model.
Karen, you're getting a request in the chat. I can't pronounce the name, but do you have a documentation link that you can provide with the authentication process?
Gemini SC.
Not only do I have that, I also have a blog. I mean, a video tutorial, because I actually wrote a tutorial and I referenced it. So let me get that. Lauren, where's my thingy? Yeah, I'll find it. I'll post it in the chat.
Sweet. Oh, I think maybe Otto already got you covered. Karen,
Thank
just
you,
to confirm,
Otto.
your method used Realm, right?
Yes.
All right, perfect.
But
Otto might have covered it.
by the way, but you don't need to use Realm for this. You could just use Atlas.
But
Like
is it in the Realm
it's a
documentation?
long story, but you could use triggers and functions inside Atlas, and it does talk to Realm, but it doesn't. You don't have to worry about that. That's abstracted from you.
Those are the authentication triggers that you're talking about, right, Karen?
Mm-hmm. There are 3 types of triggers.
Yep.
We have database triggers, which says something changed in your application. So, I mean, something changed in your data. And if something changes in your data on a particular field, let's say, so the interesting thing about gaming is, let's say you have so many wins. So if you see in our model, we have wins 0, because that's how we roll here. But let's say we get to 10 wins. So we could have a trigger on the database that says, once you get to 10 wins, you unlock a certain achievement. Yes. So we'd say, if you get to 10 wins, then we're going to push a 10 winner achievement onto our achievements array, for instance. And that's done. We don't have to write that. That isn't normally in game development. You often pull to see something like this. This is something, it's just a trigger that talks to you. So you have a database trigger, what is it called? A schedule trigger, which is basically a cron job. Those are great for analytics, which we'll talk about later. And then we have authentication trigger, which is when you log in, when you create an account, all sorts of different things. And we have all sorts of different ways of logging in: Facebook, Google, email password, bring your own authentication, JWT tokens, things like that. Which one? But just to know, you have that freedom when we get there.
Well, that's part of why we are loving this, right? It's because we have all of those at our disposal, so we don't have to put any extra effort into thinking about that. We can just deal with it at the time when the time comes and use the tools that we already have available, which is sweet. All right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one last thing. So I worked in gaming for so many years, and then when I left gaming, I'm like, I never want to talk about games again. And please never give me a gaming company. I was really kind of like burned out. And then I work at MongoDB, which is about not gaming. And all of these use cases that we have at MongoDB, I'm like, oh my God, this would have been so helpful for like this game launch. And so it's just a fantastic database for gaming. So
poor Karen, she got dragged into gaming again because of us.
I know. You could always actually play video games with us on Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
If Lauren Schaefer does it, I will do it. She won't do it though.
All right.
This is my way of blaming her.
To you, Lauren. You need to join us on Friday.
Yeah.
She won't do it. So I don't have to do it.
Okay. So I think this is good to start with, right? I mean,
all right.
Let's get this set up, and then let's actually also show it in compass, or
Yep,
would you want to get
absolutely.
it set up first? All right, so this is how we can set up our initial user profile store with the MongoDB extension in VS Code. Now we're going to. Do you want to commit that?
I didn't actually run any queries though.
Okay. I mean,
This is just a mock.
Yeah, this is a good start, I think. So let's actually run.
Quick
one
question there,
query.
real quick though. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do I for the statistics for this profile? Do we want to leave it at the root level of the document, or do I want to make it into an object?
That is a great question. I would say I don't. My gut tells me to make it an object, but what do you think, Karen?
The nice thing is, going to be a bit of a jerk. Right now, I would keep it here. Just remember, we're just starting. And the nice thing is that we can see all these fields right away through all the tools. But the awesome, and this happens a lot with people who are already using MongoDB, is that their data grows. They get new levels, they get new whatever, and it gets complicated. And you could just run a few aggregations, get that into an object, and embed it later. And so that's kind of the nice thing. We don't have to make these decisions now. So let's not.
Yep.
That's why I asked, but totally makes sense. All right, so do we want to add?
All right, then let's make this happen.
Yes. So what are we going to call this database? Players?
Oh, sorry.
Or
I would call it
Plummies.
We can call it game dev. We can call it plummeting people. The database,
yes,
is that
this
fine?
is the database, yes. So I was looking at both and got confused. So so we want to explicitly set what database we're going to use. So it will be plummeting people. And then this user mock that we've just built, we will be adding all the different plummies into our plummies collection. So
absolutely.
Yes, let's insert one to start.
Copy this whole entire thing.
Yep.
The beauty of JSON right there.
Can you at
I
least
think I have too many brackets.
can you at least
I think you need to remove those brackets.
And can you at least do some hacking on here and give me like 3 wins? I don't want to be set at 0 wins.
I love how you've 3,500 losses.
Yes, at least 3. I mean, I don't care. You can leave the losses because that's pretty accurate. But really, Nick, -3?
Good. Oops.
I saw you play last week, Adrienne, on the stream.
I know.
He says the only thing you have to concentrate on is not to fall off, and I swear within that second is when you fell off.
Yep. Yep. I
All
still
right.
have
Anyways,
trouble chatting.
Adrienne has 3 now.
Yes.
Okay.
I have 3 pineapples.
This will run.
Against me and Lauren, Nick.
And so let's just run it right as is, right?
Yep. Since there's only a couple commands that we're running there. Sweet.
All right. It says that it inserted one called Adrienne.
So
and let's go ahead and try to find it.
Refresh that. We should be able to check it out. So plummies, documents.
Oh, looks good.
Woo! Woo! There I am with my 3 wins. Amazing.
I should have slipped it in a 0 before it ran, right?
You should have a trigger to reset it at 0 every night.
Terrible. Terrible. I thought you were my teammates. I feel betrayed. See what I have to deal with? Twitch chat. All right. So
Such abuse.
Just practicing triggers.
Yes, let's run one query and then we can switch over to see how we would do this in Compass, because that's the beauty of this. You can choose the tools that you enjoy and like working with. So, well, yeah, we're going to find just me.
Why doesn't that pop up? I wonder. Didn't it pop up before when I hovered over it?
Yes.
All right, that shows up. Is that an invalid command?
I can't actually see it. Do you have your brackets are matched up, DB plummies? Let's see.
Should be fine. That's weird.
I mean,
Maybe
find one.
And then just use the command. There you go.
It's weird. I don't know. spazzing out on my end probably.
Oh, the problem is you need to also have the use command within the selected code.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, you have to
All
say
right.
use plummeting
Yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm. So usually once this file gets much longer, just kind of have that as at the top of every snippet that you want to run.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Woo.
Sweet.
And we
Not
can
bad.
do it there. Awesome. So Karen, would you like to show us how to do this in Compass? Maybe add a different user and then query something else via Compass?
Okay. Are you sharing my screen? I mean, like, just tell me what to do. Can you see my screen?
Not
Like,
yet.
you'll see it on the.
Now we can.
Okie dokie.
Is it possible to zoom in Compass?
I saw somebody do it once. I think it is possible. I think it's just a Chrome extension or something. Right?
Every stream I have with Nick, it's like this. Okay, oh hey, look at that.
Oh whoa. Okay. Let's fix that.
Maybe go to View and try Zoom. Up in the toolbar at the top.
Are you talking to me?
What just happened? I hope so. Maybe.
Because my screen looks fine. I can't change my screen to.
Oh, OBS Ninja, what you
No,
doing?
you're just Compass itself.
Yes. What about Compass?
If you go to, what just happened, Adrienne?
I'm not sure. Let me double check that. Let me refresh it.
So real quickly, we mentioned. Oh, great. So we mentioned. Do you have the Atlas cluster? Do you want to show the Atlas? Oh, that's me. Okay, hold on. Hold on just a second. Let me show you the Atlas cluster as soon as I remember how to make this smaller. Is this the Atlas cluster? Hey. So I'll have these both up. So this is our cluster that we have. The one that we spun up is $0, where you can scale it up everywhere in the world that you want. We're over 65, 75 regions around the world, whatever. And it's $0 to have this. So as you can see here, this tells us everything we want to know about the cluster. And then we have the data, we call it Data Explorer, but it's really the Collections tab. And then in here you can see the database and then Adrienne. So this is what they used on it. And then you can see we have all these nifty tools here at the top too. But when I developed for MongoDB, we have a tool called, so I've been in MongoDB, I don't know, 2.5 years or something like that. But we have, lots of people were using, I don't know the names of the tools, but we have Compass, and I love, love, love Compass. And let me see if I show another cluster here. So in Compass, you could see all the different data. So this is another cluster I have. You can see all my different collections. I could add a collection here if I wanted to. We also have ways of, so I have this, whatever I'm on, movies. I can import data from a JSON or CSV file, or I can export data. So I'm just a big fan of, I'm kind of, as developers, we all have our tics and things that we use that we like to use that make us feel invincible. And this is one of the things that I use to make me feel invincible. So, but as Atlas is kind of catching up to all the features that they have in that as well. But so this is Plummeting People Plummy. So it's also in Compass. I'm already connected. So if I wanted to maybe make another document here, I'll clone this document. Did I do this? What did I just do? Insert. Do I have a name? Oh, ID. Well, let's see what happens when I do this. Insert. So I actually don't have, oh, there's my ID. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the ID to, so I get all CRUD capabilities in here, which is really nice. Let's see, move this up.
Karen, we have a question that maybe you can answer. I can't because I don't use Compass enough. It's from Evely. Yeah, no, I've
hey,
used Compass
I like
life.
him. Thanks for asking questions and all your really great. Evely should be on our team. We need a character named after him. Okay, I'm listening.
We'll make it happen.
Are you able to see the comment, or
Is
do you
it,
want me to read
wait,
it to you?
actually, I'm going to make him. I could if I were looking, but I'm not looking. Hold on. So I'm going to make him a character. It's EVA. Am I not making him a character? Let me make him a character. Oh, you know what? This is a good point. Okay, my bad. So you actually can't. The other interesting thing is once you have an underscore ID field, you can't mutate it. Pro tip for you guys. So if you think you have people who get on, the underscore ID is immutable. So if you think that your users might want to change their names later, you probably should create a user.
Yep.
A user thing. Okay, so let me see what Everlay asked. I remember using Compass some years ago, 3-ish. Stale data in the UI, is that still a problem? No, it's not. You could refresh it here and it comes up right away. What did I do? Look, so there's NRA boy. So that's, I guess that's what I put in there. So I created a new one.
one.
This, oh, you did? Okay. So
yeah,
this is the one that this is, hope. So anyway, so yeah, it refreshes really, really updates. So this is, refresh your collections and stuff here, and you can refresh your documents here. And I'd be interested in seeing your use case. But the other nice thing I have is, so I usually, when I write, I have several monitors, and like in the office, when I used to have an office, I had a tall monitor where I'd have Compass at the top and I have my console line at the bottom. So my console terminal. So what are we doing here? So that's how I create something. And then let's analyze our schema. So this is also something very interesting. If you want to have an idea of what your data looks like, how many of our, or how does it look? And then let's do, if I wanted to do players with wins that are less than, I hope I don't mess this up, that'd be bad. Less than 3, less than 4. Is this right?
Can you just also eliminate the search for NRA boy, because he totally hacked his wins and there's absolutely no way.
This is a nice thing also. Unless it's his ID, I'll just take away his wins. I'll make him a negative, or I can run a script every night to just subtract a whole bunch of wins.
This is a rigged game.
I mean, at least be modest. I said 3. You put like 3,000 in there.
What can I say? I'm good at this game.
So we should have Lauren as a fake character and just have her like be the Uber boss of this game. So anyway, this is up here is where you filter things, and you could filter for, I'm going to find my ID being Adrienne and just bring up Adrienne's document, or if I wanted to bring up everybody who has less than 4. And so once I have this filter on here, which is nice. So this is part of the analytics I was saying. I can say, I can do my schema. And so this is my schema for all the players who are less than 4. So these are just different ways of gaining sort of different insights into it. Explain plans, again, I said I'm not going to talk about indexes yet, but explain plans are kind of amazing for when you make these queries and they're really long. You can run an explain plan to see where everything kind of gets stuck. And then you can kind of create indexes on those fields to do that. But I just want to see what happens here. So this just says I returned 2 data and everything's fine. And how long it takes, 0 seconds, so it's fine. Indexes, I only have the one index. Index is always created on that. But as your data grows and as your use cases grow, sorry, I'm not creating an index yet. But I can see indexes that I've created and I don't use anymore. So those might be worth removing, or I might see, it might give me index suggestions. So these are all things that you would see here. And I'm removing, if I want to do, let's do greater than 4. And then that way it's going to bring me just Nic. And then we got to change his stuff to be -3. I'm going to make that. I'm going to make that immutable. Did you delete yourself?
No, you deleted me.
Did I delete you? I didn't delete you. Did I delete you?
Oh,
okay.
The filter.
Oh, now, because now you're not now you're in there. So let's do this.
No, you don't.
So now nobody's in there.
Fake wins.
And there you are. So that looks correct. This looks like an accurate gaming scenario for us. Now,
I got
the
cheat
thing
penalties.
that so what else can I show you guys here? Did you want me to show? Oh, validation. So this is kind of cool. If we wanted to add validation rules, I haven't looked at this in a really long time, so I'm not gonna do anything here. But I can say if I wanted to make sure by default the underscore ID is an object ID, but if I wanted to make sure it was a string, like it's somebody's name, then I can say that this is going to be. I can create my schema here and insist that this field is a name, or insist that wins is an integer and not a float, or something like that. And then I can say if it fails, do I get an error, meaning it gets rejected outright, or will it accept it and send the application back a warning?
I have
So
a
So these
question.
are all kind of, yes.
Would this be a good place to do a kind of validation for, say, unique username? Would this be the right place to do that, or would they be
What I would do, actually, if Chris Harris is on the thing, I hope my buddy Chris Harris knows all this stuff. So so let's see, we're doing underscore ID.
For now, we've seen the
Uh,
cons
so-
of having that as our username,
Oh,
but yeah.
let's see. I'm going to do, I'm just going to say Adrienne. I don't know if you can do underscore ID, so I'm just going to call it whatever. I call it I'll just call it Adrienne because I'm, so I want to say, I don't know. This is a really bad idea because I can't already, underscore ID is already unique, but let's say XP or whatever I'm going to have here. And then I put it sorting or descending order.
Mhm.
I should be able to make this unique.
Ah,
And then I hit create index. And then just like that, like if somebody has 3 XP and somebody else tries to insert with 3 XP, it's going to send you, you won't be able to do it because it's unique if I
sweet. So
remember
then
correctly.
we could do that then. If we did want to provide users the ability to change their name, then we could probably add a username field and then create the unique index on there.
Yes, and that actually, and it's so cool to be working on this now because it was something I didn't see until we started to do this. A time to live index is really interesting because you might say the last. We had what last logged in or last whatever last
Updated.
last time that last updated thing. If you have like recreate it, and then I think I would have to read the documents again, but time to live means how long it stays. So this is a really good way of saying if the data is really stale, if they haven't done it, whatever, you can delete it, which you probably don't want to do. Or you can set it to go write it into a bucket somewhere and get it off your active cluster because now the data is quite cold. So you could keep it, but you could keep it in a place that's less expensive for you. So there are all sorts of different things.
Would the TTL
Yes, sir.
work with Data Lake?
Yes, and actually, so we have something called. We're getting really big for our britches right now, but we have something called Atlas Online Archive that says. So, for instance, on this data, you say. Actually, let me see if I can show it to you.
Well, we don't want to get too heavily involved. We do want to.
But anyway, the point is that I can say on this field, if these documents last so long, it just automatically archives into your data lake, and gets off your active cluster. However, at the same time, it's still queryable at the same time. But this is all there. We did that's a different stream, and we've actually already done that stream. But yes.
Yes.
That's what we do.
We actually have that on our third page of our Jamboard. But yeah, we will get into that. That's going to have its own full stream. So.
And again, and there's one more thing. It is impossible to talk about game development. It's possible for us to talk about building a game, but it isn't impossible to talk about game development without talking about analytics. And on top of just being able to root that information off and still have it queryable, we could also do things like have dedicated nodes for analytics where they run these really long-running operations. Yep. So in your databases, you have your 3-node cluster for your operations. Everybody who's playing a game, they need to access that. But if some of these analytic operations, they take a long time. They get on there and they just drag on. They can be really long running aggregations, and you don't want to affect NRA Boy and Adrienne's game. So you could have a separate cluster just for your analytics, so that all your players can still have a great experience. And then you could blow up the cache and do whatever you want on some of that analytics data that you don't need immediately.
Those will be perfect for our these things. Let me go to the Jamboard really quick. This will be perfect for all of these things we discussed, which were some of the analytics we wanted to keep. So like the heat map of player regions or peak play times, stats on particular levels, as in, is this level too difficult, or where are people failing in this level? All of those kinds of things are things that we can look forward to and actually match what you were just talking about. But that's on page 3 of our Jamboard. So
it'll come a time.
We're getting ahead. I like
that
we're thinking about it, but
yeah,
it's there. It's going to have its own stream. Don't worry.
This project is a process. Don't rush it.
So I think.
Hey, Evelyn, what do you use now if you don't use Compass? I'm interested. No, it's not a sad topic. It's sad for you. Sorry.
No.
I want to know.
It's in
I'm
regards
reading
to
his
my
comment.
loss.
Oh, right. Anyway, if you could just let me know, I'm interested in what other people use.
Oh, Evelyn says using MongoDB now.
No, that's become a sad topic.
Now it's a sad topic. Now it's a plummeting person. Way to kill the vibe.
That's okay.
It's my fault. I played myself.
No worries. So
go on, Adrienne.
Nope, go ahead. I think you had the same thought that I did. Go ahead.
Yeah, so now that we've got this data, we've played around with it in Compass, we're probably going to want to do more than just a basic find filter like we've done. Let's say that we wanted to, say, for example, just one that pops out of my mind is find the total number of steps or the total number of wins. Who knows? Anything. Total number of something.
Yeah.
Where we have to do some kind of calculation.
Oh, I hate writing aggregations live. I hate writing aggregations live, but it's like the worst. But
make it easier, right, Karen?
Yes. So we have this thing, and I'm just going to write a really basic one, and maybe it'll loosen me up, and then I can relax a little more. But so we talk through schema, explain plan, indexes, validation, and aggregations is actually awesome. Let me show you ones that I have. So I have this other cluster. I have this other cluster here, and let's say it has other data on it, and I have my movies collection. And I actually do have aggregations on here that I have already written. So if I open something up, let's see, open this up. And so you could see, so this is and if somebody from MongoDB is watching, maybe they put the link to the aggregation pipeline builder. So this is what we call our aggregation pipeline builder inside of Compass. It's also now inside of, Limit would be easy. It's also now inside of Atlas, by the way. But as you can see here, we can just add a stage below in our aggregation thing, and we could say group or whatever, and then you put things in there. So and then you could flip stages. Whoops, let me see. Flip stages around, play with different things. So let me delete this one now because I don't want it. But let me go back to this one, to plummeting people. So that's an example of where I actually used it before. So the interesting thing is I build up this pipeline and I can see things. Let me see if I find one that actually has.
As you do that, Nat Ow, I hope that's correct, asked a question, is an aggregation easier in Mongo Compass or in the shell? And Nic correctly answered, it depends. So there are different use cases that would warrant the use of one or the other. As Karen goes through and writes this aggregation, you'll see a pretty cool part of using Compass as you build the aggregation is that at each stage that you add in your aggregation, you see the resulting output of what your data is at that stage. So as she adds this stage right here, after that stage has been executed, the resulting set will be on the right where it says no preview documents at the moment. And as you build your aggregation, it's sometimes much easier to see the state of your data, especially if you have really complex aggregations. Now, if you have something that's just super quick, like Nic said earlier, I just want to see the total number of wins, and you are pretty comfortable with the operators and the aggregation pipeline stages, then I would agree with him and say MongoDB Playground is much faster and much quicker to just get up and running. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. Both have their use cases, and people have their preferences.
Yo, Adrienne, I don't know if you saw the comment, but is there any way you can boost your gain a little bit on your microphone?
Oh, sure. I actually just lowered it because there was some AC. Is that a little bit better? We'll see.
I don't know. It was fine to me, but we'll see what.
I raised it, so I'm about on par with your yellow bars, so it should be better. But just let me know in the chat if it's still a little too low for my mic.
No, so I heard that it's better now.
So just as I don't know why the first one I put in didn't work, but I just did like a simple match for all the documents that are 3485, which all of them are because we've just copied them. But it brings me, so I can write this and I could see everything that it returns. So here are the documents where the losses equals 3485. This should work. So let me see if I want to do something where the document is. The nice thing is also, I should have. There should be an information bar or something here. So losses, let's see if losses equals equal to. And so as I'm building things out, if I want to say, so this actually would happen, let's say if I have losses are equal to over 3,000, I have players who aren't particularly successful, then I can run this aggregation, and then I can, if I wanted to say, okay, these are like high risk people, so I might want to, like, I risk them not feeling successful in the game, and I don't want to risk churning them, so I can add a field for them, and the field might be high risk or whatever. Let me make that a thing. And then what would I call high risk? And I would call it, I don't know what I would, I would call this risk level. Let's just call
I'm
it
learning
high.
something new as well, since I've only used Compass just a very few amount of times. So this is pretty interesting.
So now I've added this field. So you see how I've added this field, and then I can do things like I can sort. You could sort, or you could limit, or you can group by. So I can group by like steps or something. But as I build out my aggregation, and then I can see everything, and I can make sure that I'm going in the right direction. I use this for very, very complicated aggregations all the time. And once I'm done using that, I can save it. Save pipeline as yada yada. I'll say Adrienne's pipeline. Adrienne, because can't come up with a different name. But the awesome thing is that once I build it out, and I have used it for 15 stages before, this is my pipeline. I can get it in these different languages. So I often get it for like a node would be something I do. So I can just grab it here, and I can just take it back to Visual Studio, and I can just place it in there, or I can place it inside of my Compass, my terminal if I want to do. So I tend to use this a lot to build out my aggregations, grab it, and then I use it later. But I can also, include my import statements. Happens a lot in Java. So you get to see how we use all these different like tools in here for you. So
yes, Nat says that's nice, and I agree. I think that's one of the nicest features about that is that you spend all the time visualizing it and building it out, and then when you just need the code either for your application or in the shell, you can just copy it because it will generate it for you, and that's super helpful for time as well.
And it's so nice to save it, because I can't even tell you how many times I have to go back through my stuff and find some sort of aggregation that I wrote somewhere, or sometimes I copy it and I throw it in a Git because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. But here I can just keep it
Yes.
So I can just keep it in here. So now you can see Adrienne's there, and I can just go back and get her when I want to. So
Yes, that is a great point. I always reference older things that I write all the time. So, like, if I needed to do a specific thing, I'd probably find an old aggregation that I did and just be like, oh yeah, I did that here. Just easily reference
and often
it.
you need to find. So often I'll go through an aggregation so I can like limit my documents. So by the way, there's a reason why I always put match here. It's because when you're running these aggregations, just in case you didn't know it, and if it's really obvious, I'm sorry, but sometimes that you want to sort of limit your fields as much as possible as you start working it. You want to get down the number of documents you have as much as possible early on, because then your performance gets better. So usually the best way to do it is very often great aggregations start with a match to limit their documents as much as possible. You could sort and do all the other stuff, but bringing down your document set as much as possible at the beginning is really helpful for performance.
So this could be used in something like, let's say, a regional leaderboard, right? You could match only on a specific region. Then that way you're not dealing with the entire global set of players. You immediately narrow down that set.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really bad at, but something I would do that I would say, so if we had a country or something, then I would do, where's my group? Set and unset are nice ways to remove. Adding fields and unsets are a nice way of removing. Like if you have a field that you don't want anymore, you could use unset to remove it. But if we did group, and then I would say I wanted to see how many, I'm really bad at this, but we'll do pineapples.
You're good.
And then I can say, so I'm going to say, well, this would be for all the consistent number. Like if so, what this says is I'm going to group for when the pineapple field is all in the same, like if I have 10 different documents and some of a pineapple's 5 and some of pineapple's 7, then I'm going to have 2 different groups. If I say group by pineapples, and then I'm going to say that field will be, I don't know. Where's Asya when I need Asya? I need you. I'm trying to blank for names, but I would just say, well, I'm really bad at names, and then I would just, I'd have to look at the whole document. But this is a way that I can group by. I have other. This is where I look at my previous aggregations. I go, how did I actually do this before? But grouping is a really cool way of kind of clustering things. So in that case, I would say I don't have this as a field, so it's not going to return anything. But I would say country. So I would ID by country, and then I would say, that level with the level, and then maybe it's a holiday. So this is something happens a lot in gaming. So you have a game and you have like so I was just in France and they kept telling me that something's going to happen after Toussaint, after All Saints Day. I don't know when All Saints Day is. Like, I don't know. So, but here, whenever you have a holiday, you might have a new level or a new game promotion that you might want to do. So if I might group by country, and then they would have different holidays and new game levels that and prizes that I'd offer around, or events that are offered around those holidays. So that might be something that you would use for this. I'm going to delete this because I'm drawing a blank on how to do this, but that's what the documentation's for. So
no, that's perfectly fine. I think this is a great segue actually to my next question, which is, I think we have our generic user profile store to start with, right? Obviously this is not the final one, but this is something that we can work with, unless there's something you're still seeing that we're missing, Nic or Karen.
We've got a foundation. I think it's great for a start.
Yes. What would you like to add? I mean, I know that we wanted to go through a couple more queries to see how we would actually, either aggregate this data for other things or just find particular player stats. But I think that will depend on us just adding more data. We should probably add all of our chat as players into there at some point. So if you're in the chat right now, we'll add you into our Plummies collection.
Yeah. Before I forget, I actually did want to give a shout out to Evely, because I think Evely actually suggested through Twitter a music audio source for us to use in the game when the time comes. So definitely much appreciated.
Ah, you're talking about the AI powered music generator.
Yes.
Yes, that's going to be so fun to check out when we get to that stream. But last stream, Karen, when we were talking and brainstorming about the cool things we wanted to add to our game, one of the things that we loved is the soundtrack on Fall Guys. It's just so high energy and catchy. So we're like, oh, we need to create our own soundtrack to our game. And Evely suggested this AI powered music generator. So we're going to check that out on that stream.
Man, Emily.
I think the
Thanks.
bots will block your. Yeah, and then to click back to that. Actually, I'm going to go to the Jamboard really quick because something else that I believe it was Evely who suggested it. Let me hide Karen's screen really quick. So it's kind of small, but one of the things he said in chat was using time to live could be used for consecutive login rewards. So for example, after a user logs in, you could store a reward that can be taken on the next login on the next day. Give this reward a TTL of 24 hours and check if last login was yesterday. So I added that under our cool things column.
All right, perfect.
So
That's interesting.
that is something cool. Yeah. So was there something else that you wanted to show, Nic?
I think not on this stream since we've already gone pretty long. But
Okay.
would
Sorry,
anyone
my bad.
object to the next stream being actually using a driver to get kind of an API server going with our user profile store?
Yeah, we can go in many directions from here. I mean, we've touched on also the leaderboard a couple times since a lot of these
Sure.
aggregations, so we can go that route. Really depends. Let us know in the chat.
GraphQL MB.
Yeah, what is MB? Maybe?
Oh, GraphQL maybe. Oh yeah.
Not good with short abbreviations.
Maybe. Yeah, cool. Well, I just wrote a blog on GraphQL, and Nic
Bam.
just streamed with me on GraphQL,
Yeah.
and I love GraphQL for linking relationships
Yeah.
and collections. And
So
one endpoint.
I mean, before we log, let's come up with a definitive answer for what we're doing next week.
Yes.
So that way it's not up in the air.
So I'm going to go to our to-do here, and our to-do is, what is next Wednesday? That is...
So you mentioned
the-
leaderboards. We have the opportunity to do some drivers if we want to put our profile store
16th.
into use. What else could we do?
So we did that.
GraphQL, I'm not sure if GraphQL would make sense unless we make that as part of the API.
So I will just throw some things out here, and then we can see how we're feeling next stream. But dabble
Yeah.
with a driver.
Can you do a poll on Twitch? I don't even know. polls work?
Probably. Let me check this out.
I know a lot of people are probably interested in doing Unity stuff, but it'll come. It'll come. Just give it time. A lot
Maybe
to
we
do.
could, last week, so I watched the stream later, and I really liked you guys playing because it reminded me
Yeah.
of why we're doing this, because it's a game and it's fun. So maybe we could.
Stream more often. That's what we're getting as our feedback. I don't think I can handle more streams than the one or two a week.
Nic can't handle talking to us this much. That's
Yeah, that too.
He's over-indexed on Karen and Adrienne.
I totally do not know how to run a poll, so just add it in the chat, unless you know how to, Nic.
I have no idea.
I feel like it's somewhere in the mod view, but we'll figure that out for next stream for sure. But yeah, if you have something that you'd like to see for next stream, if you think would be a next logical step from this point,
keep the flow.
Yeah, so we said dabble with the driver, maybe talk about these leaderboards because they kind of make sense with what we were talking about today. We're collectively using all of these player stats that we're collecting on all of our players, our plummies, and all the questions or all the aggregations that we're talking about kind of lead into feeding this leaderboard. So that's something we could talk about next week. And just for kicks, because I like things in threes, let's add one more thing.
Oh, what's the third one?
I don't know. I'm waiting either on chat or you or Karen.
Let me check the Jamboard on my screen.
What's a logical?
I'm getting something up in Unity for you guys next week.
Oh.
No, you don't have to. I just have to. So
Alright.
so Nick mentioned that he played with Unity before. I have picked up and played with Unity so many times in my career, and then every time I go back, it's like I'm learning from the beginning.
Yep.
Which I think is quite common, actually. But it always changes dramatically. Unity
I have
5.
a suggestion for next week as well.
Yes.
What about auth? Karen, you really wanted to do auth on this stream. I know you did.
All right, authentication.
But I think we need to inject some fun. We need to put some party on this train. I can do auth, like that's a party for
This is
me.
pretty fun.
Getting it to work is like a boss level, but
I need to
I don't
play
know if
around
people
with
like
Unity
it.
a little bit. I'm a little rusty at Unity. I need to just mess around
Actually,
with it.
you know what I'll do? I say this all the time, but we could just build a Unity entryway and get auth going on that, and that would be the only thing we have. So you could auth on and just start writing people into your users.
I'm down. I mean, it's a stretch goal for all of us because I also have to get up to speed with Unity by next week.
You never up to speed on Unity, by the way. Never happens.
At least enough to have a reasonable stream. But I think that was something we were talking about with Nick, which was if we decided to go into some Unity stuff this early, that would be our first thing to get set up, is to just have some kind of, even if it was just pulling our direct object back for our player, that would be more than enough. And then we pretty it up later.
I'm actually interested, when I was in Unity, at all the free assets that they had inside the Unity store. Because I don't know if anybody plays around with Unity that much, but when I looked at the free assets last time I played around with them, like, this looks just like Deus Ex. Like, I know how they got all the art for the game, like where they got all the art for the game. Because it's really interesting to go in there and you get to see the stuff. Mm-hmm. And you get to pull one asset in it and put one collision detector on it and then knock it off a thing, just like we did with Adrienne last week, apparently, on the stream.
Well, if the two of you want to live dangerously next week, we can give it a try.
Okay.
I don't know the success.
We have a couple more ideas in the chat. Let me know how you feel about this. Geminis says GraphQL subscription chat between players, and Intruder says, will avatars be AI generated too?
That's so cool. Actually, that Intruders thing was reminding me to visit the asset store, because I'm like, I wonder if we could just get some characters straight from the asset store.
I'm sure in the beginning we'll start with some prefabbed assets, because I don't know if you've seen Nick's drawing in our drawing game, or my drawing for that matter,
Best
but
ever.
They are not pretty unless you're going for like an abstract type of feel. But we'll see.
Okay, well, I guess what we've decided is we don't know. We're shooting high, but who knows?
I will put it in pink. I will put it in pink. Maybe Unity.
Just familiarize ourselves with the environment and not actually show us things.
Ourselves, because I think we all need to
make a Twitter poll.
There we go.
This guy is bringing it.
You are full of suggestions.
Easily, thank you.
We need to get you on board on this stream. Make another little box for him.
I'm gonna align this.
I'm making him a character in the game right now.
This is gonna bother people that it's not aligned. So here you go. All right, so I think that's pretty good. So that is our to do for next week. We're kind of all over the place. Kind of choose your own path.
I tell you what I'm going to do for next week too is, so we I'm sorry, I'm hijacking the thing, but we had _ID Adrienne, and we discovered that it's not good. Mm-hmm. So I'll write an aggregation and I'll show you next week, and we'll run it, how I can take the _ID field, change it into user, and write it into user and have a new _ID field inserted in that with
Ooh.
this, because it's a real use case that we need. So anyway,
Sweet. That sounds good to me. Well, I think that was a very, very good stream. And we actually have a mock of our user profile stored there. So obviously this is not the final model of what that's going to look like, but that's the whole point of this, right? We're going to iterate on this as we see fit. Anything else you want to add, Nick or Karen?
Yeah, I have some plugs.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so first plug, join us on the MongoDB developer community. So if you have any questions that maybe not too appropriate for Twitter because of the character length, get us on the community. We'll be there. We'll answer your questions. So it's just a forum board.
It's a developer.
I have a plug.
So let me just show that really quick. So this is a great place. We're all on here. We check this out. If you have any specific questions, we'll be here. So this is a great place to go.
So I have a plug too, if I may. I'm actually doing the Twitch stream this Friday at noon Central Time, 1 Eastern Time, 10, and it's on Atlas Search. And I use, I'm doing it on the movies database, and I'm doing it on a FIFA team. So I'm going to find, using Atlas Search, you're just going to like throw crazy names at me, pronounce crazy names, and I have to guess how to spell it. And then I'm going to show how you can find things really fast.
I saw the calendar invite. I couldn't even attempt to pronounce anything that you put in that.
Yeah, I met this Polish guy, and I made him record all these Polish players in my recording. So I'm going to start with those. Anyway.
Sweet. So head back here on this Friday. At what time? Say that time one more time, because you're on different
at noon
zones.
Central, and it's me and it's my kid. I call it, like, I talk about him like he's this little kid. He's actually a grown man, but he actually works here, and so he's working on this with me. I wrote the back end, he wrote the front end. But anyway, Tom Gleitzman is doing this with us. So.
Oh yes, we streamed that last time. So this is like the update to that, right?
Yes, this is an update to that, because we've gone GA and we have new operators. So.
Woo, sweet. So keep an eye out for that this Friday, and be sure to follow us here on Twitch so you'll never miss any of these streams. We are actually getting pretty good on filling up our weeks. There's a lot of different content on here. So not only do we have full text search, we have this game dev stream every Wednesday. Joe Carlson does a lot of community spotlights and just ridiculous programmers reacting to memes, and a lot of really fun stuff with the DevRel team as well as our community. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something for everybody here. So be sure to follow us on this Twitch channel. And I'm going to call that a wrap. I think that is it for us today. We will see you next Wednesday and this Friday. And thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for all of your great suggestions. We love incorporating it into our game, and we can't wait to see more of it in the future streams. So until next time, bye everybody.
Bye.